The fruit of the Spirit is peace. Perhaps a good place to start to define peace is to describe what it is not, by referring to what Paul says about the works of the flesh in Galatians 5:16 through 19. Quote, "The acts of the flesh are obvious: sexual immorality, impurity and debauchery, idolatry, fits of rage, selfish ambition, dissensions, factions, and enviness, drunkenness, orgies, and the like." The list is inclusive enough to include us all, and was pervasive enough to describe not only Paul's culture, but our own. Furthermore, to the extent it describes what we have done or what is in our hearts, we are not at peace. How then can we find peace? In our culture, we have read enough Freud to know about projection. This describes not me, but my family, not me, but my neighbor, not the contemporary me, but the way I used to be, etc., etc., etc. If we are to be honest with ourselves, it doesn't work. Freud was wrong about a lot of things, but he was right about that. And we don't have to have read Freud to know that I have often been angry with God, who does not do what I want, when I want. Furthermore, I have despised my neighbor, and frequently have harmed my neighbor, and neglected those I have not directly harmed. Paul had not, of course, read Freud, but he knew from his own experience all about hypocrisy and lack of peace. He discovered real peace when he encountered and accepted the forgiveness of sin in Christ. All have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. But he found peace in accepting the grace and forgiveness of God. This, for him, was the ultimate meaning of peace, and was doubtless the meaning that he intended when he included it as a third fruit in his list after love and joy. Love, of course, the deepest spiritual love of God and our neighbor, is what makes all of the other gifts possible. None of us who affirm that love are, in this life, completely possessed by it. None of us affirm that love and have complete peace. We discover, however, to the extent we are possessed by it, that we have perfect peace. This is the peace that passes understanding. We discover that the works of the flesh have no attraction for us. This does not mean that we will live lives frequently free of conflict. Paul had conflict all his life. Having the peace of God and being at peace with God does not free us from all conflict. It may create it. Paul was in and out of prison most of his ministry, and because of his ministry. It does not release us from conflict within ourselves. St. Paul struggled with sin, claiming that he sometimes didn't do what he wanted to do, and sometimes did do what he did not want to do. That kind of ultimate peace comes when finally, when we leave this life and go to be with him. Becoming a Christian is no guarantee of sinless perfection. It does grant the promise of realizing that perfection as our final destiny.